Coming up on today's episode, how to trade in your HD DVDs for Blu-rays cheap. Everybody's talking about Popcorn Hour's C-200 set-top media player. Robert Heron brings a review. Ryan Connolly of Film Riot joins us with his top 5 horror flicks. And we've got the Blu-ray releases for the week of September 28, 2009. This is HD Nation.
HD Nation.
Today's episode is brought to you by GameFly, Squarespace, and GoDaddy.com.
Welcome to HD Nation. I'm Robert Heron.
And I'm Patrick Dorton. HD Nation is your guide to the best in HD content and the best in home theater gear, no matter what your budget is. Blu-ray, online, satellite, cable, over the air. If it is in HD, we like it. Oh my god. Any exciting stuff you're watching this week?
I'm still addicted to all of those medical mystery shows and the ones where they find like parasites and stuff in your brain and they don't know what to do on the...
Bobby was feeling sick, and later on they found this, and it's like a shot of like 10,000 things clawing out of his stomach.
There's 2 shows in particular. One's not in HD, but one's called Mystery Illness, and then the other one's The Monster Inside of Me. I really have to quit watching these shows. And of course, I'm TiVoing like 10 episodes at a time, so I'm just sitting there going, oh. Anyway.
This is disgusting. I can't stop watching. In news that is not disgusting and is, in fact, glorious, the BBC has confirmed that Top Gear is filming in HD this season. Thanks to our buddies over at Engadget HD for the heads up on that. Now, if somebody other than subscribers to Time Warner Cable in New York City actually had access to the BBC America in HD, some of us could enjoy it. Look, here's the deal, right? We put a link in the show notes to the I Want BBC America in HD page. I've made my request for DirecTV. Now, if all of you watching could do the same, request for DirecTV. I'm not particularly worried about your individual cable subscriber. That's a joke, people. We'll see if we can speed this process up and get the Beeb into everyone's homes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Love that. Now, on a not particularly related, but still glorious note, The Wizard of Oz Blu-ray Edition will hit the streets this week. And if you don't want to pony up the cash for the whole set and you're in the United States, you can catch The Wizard of Oz in high-def glory on Netflix's Watch Instantly feature. Now, this means that it's available on any Netflix-ready device, whether it's your home computer, an Xbox 360, TiVo, or one of the many Netflix-enabled Blu-ray players. And you don't even need to be a Netflix member to watch it free via their website. Here's the catch. Now, it will only be available for 24 hours, and it's starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, October 3rd, until 9 a.m. Eastern Time, October 4th. And you can check it all out at netflix.com/Wizard of Oz for all the details.
Now, we don't usually think HD TV when we think of the demo show. It's this twice-annual conference where startups show off their new products. But the unfortunately named Emo Labs, which has me thinking of experiments on Indie Boys, has a fairly slick, transparent speaker technology. They claim 90 to 95% of the light passes through. There are drivers on the edge of the panel, and the idea is that the drivers do left and right channels, and the sound basically bounces towards you from the screen. Stereo for now. They might be doing a center channel in the future. Our man at Demo, Jim Louderback, said, quote, "The sound is okay, not tremendous," unquote, which is actually, for sort of flat panel speaker technology, is a huge step up, because usually most of the stuff we've heard where it's like a flat sheet of something sounds absolutely miserable.
Now, in the continuing effort to keep California's per capita electrical consumption flat, apparently it's been flat for 30 years while the rest of the country's per capita consumption has grown by about 50%. I personally blame the younger people who believe in air conditioning and, of course, video games. The California Energy Commission... Is
Leland Yee in the building?
The California Energy Commission is looking to establish TV efficiency standards starting in 2011. What the heck?
Yeah, well, okay, so plasma TVs are the most threatened by this since they suck down the most juice. LCD flat panel makers are kind of unflapped about this. The CEA's not for it. Individual vendors, you know, they're obviously, depending on the number of plasmas they make, they're probably going to be more or less panicked. The CEC claims a typical plasma sucks down 3 times the juice of your old school standard def CRT type television, and that the sort of, as all of these big screens go into everyone's homes, it's sort of messing up their plot for keeping energy consumption flat in the state of California.
I personally see this as just reinventing the wheel. I'm not sure why the California Commission is getting involved when we already have systems like Energy Star that rates TVs for the entire country, and all manufacturers pay attention to those rules, and they all strive to hit the targets that are presented within a document presented by Energy Star. It's like, and over time, especially in the last 3 years, I've seen all flat panel TVs decrease by at least 20%, and the latest models are like 30% below the targets that Energy Star requires. So I just feel like we're reinventing a wheel here in terms of just why are we creating legislation for something that, in my mind, is already fixed.
And we should point out that both of us are very pro saving energy and reducing electrical consumption. Maybe you should turn off your television when you're not using it, because it's interesting, right? Screens bigger than 58 inches would be exempt for now, but could be subject to further law. The spec is currently under a 45-day review. You know, obviously the CEA and some measures are against it. It's kind of interesting because, like, I think Samsung and Vizio, most of their models are probably already well within the 2011. Vizio said, hey, a lot of our stuff is ready for the tighter 2013 specs.
And the interesting part about all of these specs, be it Energy Star or what the California Commission is going to do, none of them factor in how bright the picture is.
Right.
It's just how much electricity is being consumed. So if you can dim a picture, any picture, enough, it can squeeze into anybody's stat or spec.
Yeah, it's going to be a stereo. Because now, of course, people are just going to drive to Nevada or Oregon to buy off-the-list televisions. Oh, well.
Garbage.
In any case, we've got some interesting stuff coming up on the show when we come back, right? Fright Films, people. Film Riot's Ryan Connolly brings you his top horror flicks in HD. But first, time to thank one of our sponsors, GameFly. GameFly is the largest online video game rental service. It offers a choice of over 6,000 new and classic titles across all consoles and handhelds. With plans starting at $15.95 a month, GameFly members can rent 1 to 4 games at a time and keep them for as long as they like. No late fees, no due dates, and shipping is always free. Once you're done playing the game, send it back and GameFly will send you the next available game on your list. If you really like a game you're playing, simply click Keep It on the GameFly website and the game is yours at a discounted price. GameFly will even mail you the case and manuals free of charge. As an HD Nation fan, you can get a free 2-week trial by going to www.gamefly.com/HDNation. Some restrictions apply. See the site for details. And do us a favor here at HD Nation. Support us by supporting our sponsors, like GameFly. It's time for another top 5 list of Blu-rays. This week, it's horror flicks in HD. And here to fill in this week's list is our very own DIY movie and special effects maven, Film Riot's very own Ryan Connolly. Dude, I gotta ask one question as a Film Riot fan.
Yes.
The blood. You spray blood like every chance you get.
Absolutely everywhere, yeah.
How long does it take you to clean up your house
It
afterwards?
takes a long time, especially because it's a mixture of corn syrup and powder, so it gets pretty sticky.
Let's just go straight onto the list. I don't want to think about your house being sticky in the Florida heat.
Well.
Oh my goodness. Number 1 on the list. Let it go, man. Number 1.
An American Werewolf in London.
Why?
It is one of the greatest 80s horror films, in my opinion. Jonathan Landis, amazing director, and the special effects are, for its time, excellent and great for DIY filmmakers because there was no CG. It was all just ingenuity on how they did the transformations.
They pretty much invented an Oscar for makeup for the guy who did makeup.
Rick Baker, yeah, totally.
It's good stuff.
And people bash it now, but I still think it stands up. It's great.
Could you do it yourself, that level of makeup?
No, not at all. Not even close.
Number 2.
The Shining.
Oh.
Jack Nicholson, Stanley Kubrick. Excellent horror film. The perfect like build suspense to the shocker moments movie, in my opinion, and Stanley Kubrick's best, in my opinion.
The cinematography is spectacular, too.
Oh my gosh, it was great. Just Kubrick's style of symmetry, everything so symmetrical, lends itself to just be so unnerving in this world that just everything is becoming more mad and more mad.
And then it gets really sketchy.
And then it gets crazy.
Number 3, never heard of this film.
The Orphanage. It is a Spanish film. It's subtitled, so if you don't like to read, you might not like it, but it's another great, very Hitchcockian-esque building of suspense to shocker moments. Only has a few shocker moments. When the shocker moments hit, because of the story, the way it builds, and the character development, when the shockers hit, it launches you out of your seat.
Number 4, one of my favorite comedy duos.
Shaun of the Dead.
Awesome.
Shaun of the Dead, great movie. Simon Pegg and I can't remember the other guy.
The big guy.
The big guy. Excellent movie. It was great. Like, I'm not a big fan of the, Hostels and stuff like that. It's guts and gore just to disturb you, although other people like it, and that's fine. But this is, I really like it when it's parody, and this is a perfect example of that. And probably my favorite zombie movie, I would say.
I can.
And it has a great throwback to the Romero zombie films, if you can find it.
You'll find it. Number 5 on the list.
The Descent, which is an Australian film. All-female cast, and it doesn't exploit women for once, which is kind of nice.
What he's saying is there's no topless scenes in it, so don't rent it for that reason, you dirty little whatever you are.
Clean it up. But it's a great movie, and it's a monster movie, but it doesn't just rely on the monsters to terrify you. It also just makes you horribly claustrophobic as they go down into the caves, and these tiny little caves where they're eking through. My brother's kind of claustrophobic, so he couldn't even watch some of the scenes. It's extremely
So he ran
effective.
from the room?
It basically,
I like
yeah.
that. Which allowed you to torture him for weeks, I bet.
Exactly.
Since we never do 5, we do mini movies because there's too many. Number 6 on the list.
The Signal, which is an excellent indie horror film from Georgia. It's actually 3 directors that all wrote and directed their own part of 3 parts, but it's its own. It has one fluid arcing storyline, which they all kept to.
Sounds expensive.
Only $50,000 to shoot the
Really?
movie, and they shot on the same camera that we actually use for Film Riot, which is extremely encouraging for
For you guys
do-it-yourself
on Film
filmmakers,
Riot.
because they were do-it-yourself filmmakers. They got the money together themselves and then went to the festival circuit, and it got picked up for a theatrical release.
They did that with a Canon XL1A?
Canon XL1H and a lens adapter, $50,000. So ask your parents for $50,000 and make a movie. It's
I want to go
easy.
to college. I want to make a movie.
Yeah.
At the other end of the financial spectrum, number 7.
Sleepy Hollow, Tim Burton's finest film in my opinion. He's so good at horror. I wish he would do more of it. Just his German expressionistic style is just perfect. Perfect.
And he's got Johnny Depp.
And Johnny Depp, which has been in every movie he's made for the past 10 years.
As well he should be.
Yes. They're a perfect team. So why break it?
Why fix it?
Why fix it if it's not broken?
Number 8. Speaking of fixing things that are desperately, desperately broken.
From Hell.
Scary, sketchy, evil Johnny Depp performance, but in terms of Blu-ray, it looks spectacular, I think mostly because of the cinematography and the color choices.
Yes.
The Hughes brothers made this.
Hughes Brothers, which is Menace to Society and Dead Presidents. So this is a complete departure for them, but a great one, I thought. And another one, nothing that's horribly in-your-face terrifying, but the whole movie has this just unnerving quality to it from start to finish, especially with the cinematography and how dark and drab it is, and then the colors come in to even further that. It's great.
If you're looking for historical accuracy, you're going to hate this film, but if you want like an unbelievably twisted 19th century Jack the Ripper thing, it's epic.
Yeah,
And it's scary.
Complete.
Dude, that was awesome, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you have not seen it, you need to. More of Ryan and the rest of the Film Riot crew. They are hysterical, they are sketchy, they are scary, and they'll give you tips on how to make your own movies at home, including special effects you probably didn't realize you could do. Check it all out, revision3.com/filmriot. It's good stuff. And now we're going to send it back to you, Rob, in the studio.
Thank you for the spooky suggestions, guys. Now, for the Blu-ray releases for the week of September 29, 2009. Away we go. Billy Jack, The Dark Crystal, Fireproof, The Girlfriend Experience, Facing the Giants, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, How I Met Your Mother, Season 4, Labyrinth, Lies and Illusions, Management, Monsters vs. Aliens, The New York Ripper, Snakes on a Plane, Streets of Blood, Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, 2003's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, BBC's Yellowstone, Battle for Life, The Unit, Season 4, A&E's The Universe, The Complete Season 3, personal favorite, National Geographic's Ultimate High Definition Collection, that should be delicious, and the previously mentioned The Wizard of Oz 70th Anniversary Ultimate Collector's Edition. Coming up next, I have a review of the Popcorn Hour C-200, but first, let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, Squarespace. Squarespace is a publishing system for anyone looking to build a blog, portfolio, or any kind of website. They offer a uniquely flexible tool for just about anyone to build high-end, complex websites with that same functionality that you will find in some of the highest traffic pages on the web. No coding experience required. Plus, Squarespace's newly launched Site Importer tool makes things super easy to move your existing blog or website. They support WordPress, Blogger, TypePad, and movable type imports, and it migrates posts, comments, tags, authors, and media. In fact, their tool will crawl your old site's posts, grab all your media, upload it to our S3 backend, and then safely move them back to your brand new Squarespace site. And if you've been using custom domains, Squarespace will actually use the URL structure of your old site and create mappings for every single one of your old posts automatically. This ensures that when you move your domain to Squarespace, in most cases, all of your links will still work. So check it out now at squarespace.com and use the code HDNation when you sign up to get 10% off the lifetime of your order. Please support us by supporting our sponsors.
So last week I was telling you we were going to start getting in more set-top media players doing reviews of them. This week, Ciabas. Well, you probably never heard of them, but we bet you have heard of the Popcorn Hour C-200 networked media tank. Mr. Heron has his take on it. So, set-top box. In the most generic sense, what is it?
Well, in this case, it is a decoder for a variety of audio and video formats that are out there right now. All the popular formats you run into on the web, plus all of the common formats you run into on things like DVD and Blu-ray media, audio formats.
Right.
This box can basically decode that and get it into your home theater setup.
So it's not going to do, you know, the Apple DRM encoded video from your Apple TV. It's
Probably
not going to do, you know, something that's locked down to the Zune HD. But pretty much anything that's open is fair game.
Totally, and most stuff you can find on the web. Now, I have this connected via HDMI right to a television, and the setup was fairly simple in terms of just getting it set up. There's an RF remote, one of my favorite things. That's the default option with the C-200. Actually comes with a remote that you don't have to point at anything, and that's really nice. That sells for $200 or $300 for that setup. You have to pay about 12 more bucks if you want infrared support as well. It includes a different remote as well as an infrared
I was going to say,
reader.
well, if you want that remote to also control your television, you're probably going to spend the extra 12 bucks.
Exactly, and that's a pretty reasonable fee. Or if you're going to use something like a Harmony remote, a universal style remote to control this device as well. Now, it comes with no internal storage, so they leave that up to you in terms of how you want to outfit this device. Right now, I have an SATA drive that goes in a front bay, literally just slides in there. Please don't take it out right now, but otherwise it is. We can pop it out as soon as we shut it off. It's simple. It literally just slides in, closes. You don't even have to open it up. However, if you do crack the lid on it, you will find another SATA port in there, so you can add a second drive. Now, there wasn't exactly a spot for it, but there was room to kind of just put it in there and hold it. Anyway, there you go. In this case, also,
tape is for.
Double stick tape rules the world. Now, the other nice thing is its support of optical media. And in this case, you have to use an external drive enclosure, and that's what we have on top here. In this case, we have a DVD drive. It also supports supposedly Blu-ray drives, but of the three optical drives we had laying around the office, none of them were Blu-ray. Somebody stole Patrick's drive. We got to get that back.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was fairly flawless. Basically, adding the drive then adds it to the interface, which you see right behind us. Now, one of the cool things, just getting it online, once that's done, you can immediately utilize some of those online functions. In this case, they have what they call their media portal service. And I'll fire that up real quick. And it brings up, ta-da, standard media feeds that you can get from around the web, including things like YouTube and Flickr, and of course, Revision 3. One quick thing, for the people out there who are doing HD video content for the web like we are, one thing I really appreciated, hey, look at that, we're right at the top, gotta love that. Any of the episodes I ran into, there's a word right here that says large, and that's the format type for the video. Just scrolling up and down with the remote, I can go for the HD version, the small version, whatever you like, and I can just hit the button and play it. And
why would you play the small version?
I wouldn't play the small version, there we go. I just hit play, and it will go online, find that video, and start playing it. Of course, we get the black screen until then. Slight buffering for just about everything you do. Doesn't take too long, and it's fairly seamless once it starts.
Coming up on today's episode, where do projector screens go?
That's the internet side of it, and of course, there's also customizable RSS feeds and other types of media you can subscribe to manually. There's services you can sign up for, but let me jump back to the main menu real quick here. Ta-da! One button gets you right back. That's really nice. Under setup, the device built into it. Once you add the hard drive. Adding the hard drive for this device is really key because that enables the device then to go online and download a suite of utilities from the Popcorn Hour website, and that gives this thing additional functionality I think a lot of people are really going to get a good taste for. And let me go into setup real quick, and what they call is the Network Media Tank applications, specifically things like a universal plug-and-play AV server, another in-home server, FTP server, Samba support, NFS server, a BitTorrent client. You can actually set this up to be pulling down your streams automatically. You can configure that through a browser, as well as a Usenet client. I found some of those were really handy, especially the Samba support. That just gives you access from your, say, your Windows PC, and you can go in and drag and drop files right into the hard drive on here.
Cool.
Now, they claim this has a gigabit Ethernet connection on it, but my own testing, I found that I was never getting anything faster than 100 megabit speeds in terms of transfers. Still pretty good for music, but when you get into...
What's your router at home?
I have a D-Link 655 with a gigabit switch in it and a gigabit from the computer to the port, blah, 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 blah.
Just checking.
I'm set. But I was, once you start transferring, say, multi-gigabyte files, like DVD files.
Gigabit Ethernet would be nice.
Huge video files. Yeah, gigabit support would be great. And I'm not sure if that can be corrected or not, or if it, maybe it was something on my end. I'll leave it to that. Other cool things, I have to say. Did I mention the RF remote? It was always good. We talked a lot about what this thing is great at. Let me just quickly go down some of the cons I ran into. One, the hardware I wouldn't say is beta so much as the software that drives it all. Right. I would say I immediately did a firmware update. I immediately did a firmware update when I did this, and I was going through some of the codec support, and things like FLAC support was missing, and the ability to stream certain files over my network from, say, a NAS device, that wasn't supported. Now, they're claiming that all these things had worked in previous devices. That is all being worked on right now. You're essentially playing beta tester. And also, the network performance I already talked about, but overall, I have to say, the performance of this device, even with large amounts of files, was relatively good. Now, I did feed it a folder of, say, a single folder containing about 7,700 pictures.
Wow.
That bogged it down. It took about 7.5 seconds to go between different pages in terms of that. But in its ability to deal with large amounts of folders and files mixed together, it was snappy. I was really surprised at how much. I never felt like this thing, I was waiting very long for anything to happen on screen.
That's a good thing, because some of the set-top boxes we've seen over the last couple of years, they have sort of the firmware of doom, or maybe whatever comes from the chip manufacturer, and you would sit there and you would hit next, and then eventually the menu would open. So anything that's snappy on a set-top box is especially good.
Totally. And as with most players, of course, I have some photos in here. You can always do stuff like slideshows and whatnot. You hit the button, you have full control over what you want to happen as far as your slideshows go.
Oh, wow.
In terms of transitions or how long you want the photos to appear. You can do background music, including internet radio streaming while you're doing your slideshows as well.
If you have a completely unhinged folder with 7,000 files inside of it, like you mentioned it before, will it index that, or is it just a bad idea?
Oh no, it did it, but it was when you, it only shows you, here, let me go back to that previous page real quick.
So it doesn't index it and store the indexed information for faster access the next time you open
that would be awesome
folder.
if it did that. However, it just takes you back to this page.
Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I love it. For $300, its ability to go through the content I already own and get it into my living room, it's working really well on that. I wouldn't hand this to my mom, not yet, in its current condition. Documentation needs to get stepped up, but product speed and functionality is there.
So any non-DRM codec, except for FLAC and some other stuff in beta, DVD, we'll test the Blu-ray by next week. That's a whole lot of functionality in a single box.
It really is.
Cool. Coming up next, how to trade in your useless pile of HD DVDs for brand spanking fresh Blu-ray discs. But first, let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, GoDaddy.com. Get reliable, secure web hosting without a long-term contract. GoDaddy's hosting plans are bigger and better than ever with 99% uptime, free 24/7 support, and no annual commitment. GoDaddy.com makes it easy to customize your own virtual dedicated server. Choose one of 3 popular plans or select your own Linux or Windows server with all the plan options you need. Use the code HDN2 to get $5 off any order of $30 or more. Some restrictions do apply. See the site for details, and be sure to check out revision3.com/GoDaddy for all the HD Nation GoDaddy deals and codes. Do us a favor, get your piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com and use an HDN code when you do. You'll be helping us out.
One more note about the Popcorn Hours DVD upconversion abilities. They were rather mediocre. They really failed some of my critical tests. However, with your Hollywood discs, Hollywood film content, it should be okay and give you a decent picture. Although,
is there something you think they might improve over time? Is it something you can fix in software, or is it kind of a permanent issue?
I'd definitely be able to fix it in software. I believe the chip they're using for the decoding abilities has the ability built into it. It's just a matter of exposing that within the software and getting it right. Another one of those little beta things. I hope they get corrected soon.
In these tough economic times, we all want you to save a buck or two. You know what that means? It is time for our recession selection. This week's selection, red to blue. Used to be HD-DVD neck and neck with Blu-ray, but now it is a casualty of the high-def format wars. Lots of discontinued players and cheap HD-DVD discs still litter the market, at least they do around here. Now, if you were like us, you probably invested in a giant pile of HD-DVD discs. Moving to Blu-ray means buying a lot of the same titles, which means spending more money for something that you already have. Wouldn't it be nice if you could turn in your HD-DVDs for the Blu-ray equivalent? Well, if you live in the United States, you can, thanks to Red to Blue. At least if they're Warner Brothers discs, because this is a Warner Brothers program that lets you trade in your Warner Brothers HD-DVD titles through the mail for their Blu-ray equivalent. You can even keep your HD-DVD disc. All they want is the cover art. It just costs you $5 for Blu-ray plus a flat $7 shipping and handling fee, or $9 for Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico. That's approximately $12, which in some cases isn't a deal, but in many cases is a pretty hefty savings on buying the Blu-ray over again. The only downside is that this program only applies to Warner Brothers movies, and there's also a limit to 25 discs per household, so if you're thinking about financing next semester or reselling Blu-ray discs, stop. Now, really, if you're making the transition to Blu-ray and you want to save on repurchasing HD movies you already have, do yourself a favor, check out redtoblue.com. All the details are up on the site. Finally, we got an email from JD who's got some good information on wall mounting HD TVs into steel stud type mounts, right? Because I've never actually had to deal with that. He says, as an AV installer, I have had to mount flat panel TVs to steel stud wall construction. To mount a flush or tilt wall mount TV to a steel stud wall, you want to choose a mount that can span 2 studs and attach the bracket to the wall using heavy-duty toggle bolts. Anchor at least 4 toggle bolts through steel stud, and if you can add a few extra to the drywall, it can help stop the bracket bracket from flexing. He recommends Toggler.com as a source for those bolts. Now, mounting and full swing arm TV brackets, the ones that way swing out from the wall, he says that's a little tougher due to the increased leverage at full extension. He says he's used a steel stud adapter plate or a bracket that's purposefully designed to attach to steel studs. Essentially, it increases the mounting surface area on the wall and allows you to get 8 toggle bolts through the bracket and into the steel stud. The other alternative is opening up the wall and backing the mounting space between the 2 studs with 3/4 inch plywood very securely to the steel framing. Then you finish drywall and painting and apply any bracket you want to the wall. He says he would also recommend choosing an LCD TV over a plasma if possible, because the LCD is going to be much lighter for any given size. JD, he's an AV installer, and dude, we want to thank you. That's some awesome information. It's crazy when you think about it. Have you ever seen steel studs, the C-channel studs?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. They're everywhere out here.
I appreciate it because it seems like it would last a long time, but I guess the key really is to keep the wall from flexing at all when you start loading it with the bracket and the panel itself. I will say, though, the latest, thinnest flat panels, the ones that are about 1.5 inches thick, they're all relatively about the same weight nowadays. So if you can get down to those usually more expensive flat panels, the weight isn't so much of a concern between plasma and LCD.
It's just like hanging a real heavy picture.
Definitely.
Oh my goodness. We are excited, by the way, to tell you all about the new show on Revision 3 called Bytejacker.
Hosted by Anthony Carboni, Bytejacker covers the best independent and downloadable video games. With in-depth reviews and analysis every week, Bytejacker tells you what you should get from the Xbox Live Marketplace, WiiWare, iPhone, and tons more. Find it every Thursday at revision3.com/Bytejacker.
We hope you guys enjoyed this episode of HD Nation. As always, we want to know what you think. Do us a favor, email your comments, your questions, your suggestions to hdnation@revision3.com.
Or you hang out with our other viewers in the HD Nation forums at revision3.com/forum.
If you head over to revision3.com/hdnation, you'll find the show notes, links to everything we talked about in today's episode, and you'll also find all the links to subscribe to the show. So if you're not getting the latest episode of HD Nation delivered directly to your computer, what are you waiting for?
That's right, subscribe and watch. And until next time,
thanks for watching. I'm Patrick Yorton.
And I'm Robert Heron.
We'll see you next week. Oh, and tell your friends. Oh, link to it. Oh, wait, come back.